You think dinner is a choice. For most of human history, dinner was a negotiation. With weather, with animals, with plants that looked friendly and then tried to destroy your stomach. Before farming, your ancestors did not ask, "What do I feel like eating tonight?" They asked a much older question. Is there anything safe enough to put in my mouth? That sounds dramatic, but it was normal. Before fields, barns, grocery stores, refrigerators, delivery apps, and the modern miracle of opening a fridge full of food and saying, "There is nothing to eat," humans lived inside a world where food had to be found, followed, dug up, cracked open, carried, cooked, shared, and remembered. So what did ancient humans eat before farming? The short answer is everything they could. The better answer is everything their landscape allowed. That difference matters, because there was no single ancient human diet. There was no official Stone Age menu. There was no caveman standing beside a fire saying, "Today I will teach you the ancestral meal plan that changed my life." There were coasts, forests, deserts, rivers, cold grasslands, mountains, generous seasons, and seasons when the world seemed personally offended that humans existed. If you lived near the sea, food might mean shellfish, fish, seabirds, eggs, seaweed, and whatever the tide left behind like a strange prehistoric buffet. If you lived near rivers, food might mean fish, freshwater animals, edible plants, and animals that came to drink. If you lived in forests, food might mean fruit, nuts, roots, mushrooms, insects, honey, birds, eggs, and small animals. If you lived in open grassland, food might mean hunting, scavenging, digging tubers, gathering seeds, tracking animals, and occasionally staring at the horizon like it owed you lunch. The real ancient diet was not one diet. It was adaptation. That was the superpower. Not giant muscles, not heroic spear poses, not yelling at a mammoth like a motivational speaker. Flexibility. Humans could eat many kinds of food. Humans could learn from each other. Humans could remember where plants appeared last season. Humans could follow animal tracks. Humans could use fire. Humans could make tools. Humans could share. And, very importantly, humans could complain. Complaining is probably older than agriculture. People often imagine prehistoric food as meat. A huge hairy hunter returns from the wild carrying a giant steak the size of a door. Everyone cheers. Someone invents barbecue. Civilization begins. But that picture is too simple. Meat mattered. Of course it mattered. Animal foods could provide protein, fat, organs, marrow, and dense calories. A successful hunt could feed a group and make the hunter look impressive for approximately 10 minutes, which may be one of the oldest human technologies. But hunting was not a vending machine. Animals do not enjoy becoming dinner. They run away, they hide, they kick, they bite, they climb, they migrate. Some of them are faster than you. Some of them are larger than your confidence. So if your entire food strategy was wait for someone to kill something, you might spend many evenings chewing sadness. This is why gathered foods mattered. Roots, tubers, fruits, nuts, seeds, leaves, wild grains, mushrooms, honey, insects, eggs, small animals, things that looked disgusting until hunger gave them a rebrand. These foods were not weak backup options. They were survival. A tuber is an underground storage organ, basically a plant hiding calories in the dirt. To you, that may sound boring. To a hungry human, boring calories are still calories. A nut is a tiny fortress full of fat. A seed is a small locked box of energy. Honey is prehistoric candy with security guards. Think about honey. Today, honey comes in a cute plastic bear. Before farming, honey came inside a tree full of angry flying needles, and humans still looked at that situation and said, "Worth it." That tells you something important about your species. You are clever. You are also the animal that saw bees and negotiated with pain. Modern people often talk about ancient diets as if meat and plants were on opposite teams. But your ancestors did not have the luxury of internet arguments. They had hunger. Hunger is very good at ending ideology. If meat was available, you ate meat. If roots were available, you dug roots. If berries were ripe, You gathered berries. If fish were trapped in a pool, you thanked the universe and got busy. If the only thing available was a suspicious plant, you hoped someone older than you knew whether it was dinner or funeral preparation. Knowledge mattered. The world before farming was not a supermarket. It was a test. Some berries were delicious. Some berries were medicine. Some berries were poison wearing a cute outfit. Some mushrooms were food. Some mushrooms were a spiritual experience. Some mushrooms were a very short story called Why Gary is No Longer With Us. So food knowledge was not trivia. It was life insurance. People had to know what was edible, what needed cooking or soaking, what was seasonal, what was dangerous, what animals followed which paths, and which place was worth visiting again. This knowledge lived in the group. In elders, in parents, in stories, in scars, in someone saying, "Do not eat that," with the calm confidence of a person who had seen what happened last time. Archaeology keeps making this picture more interesting. At Taferalt in Morocco, researchers studied people who lived around 15,000 years ago, before farming reached that region. In 2024, Zineb Mubtahij and colleagues used isotope analysis to study their diet. Isotopes are chemical signatures inside bones and teeth that can help reveal what people ate over time. The result was not a simple caveman steak fantasy. The evidence suggested a strong reliance on plant foods such as acorns, pine nuts, pistachios, oats, and pulses, with animal foods also present but not dominating the way many people expect. That does not mean every ancient human everywhere ate like the people at Taferalt. It means the old cartoon is wrong. Some hunter-gatherers before farming could rely heavily on plants when plants were available, useful, and worth the work. Another clue comes from Fuyan Cave in southern China. Researchers including Yiji Wu studied dental calculus from ancient human teeth. Dental calculus is hardened plaque. It is disgusting in your mouth, but wonderful for archaeologists because it can trap tiny traces of food. Inside it, researchers found starch grains, microscopic traces from plant foods. The evidence pointed to acorns, roots, tubers, grass seeds, and other plants many tens of thousands of years ago. In plain English, ancient people had plant food stuck in their teeth. And thousands of years later, scientists said, "Thank you, this is data." That is the strange beauty of archaeology. Your ancestors forgot to floss, and now we understand their dinner better. Plant processing also left traces on tools. Anna Revedin and colleagues studied grinding stones from sites including Bilancino in Italy, Kostenki in Russia, and Pavlov in the Czech Republic. They found starch evidence showing that people were processing plant foods around 30,000 years ago. Processing matters, because many wild foods do not politely become dinner. They have shells, skins, fibers, toxins, bitterness, dirt, and defensive chemistry. The natural world is not a restaurant. It does not want to be easy. So humans pounded, ground, scraped, peeled, soaked, roasted, cracked, chewed, spat out mistakes, tried again. A modern person sees a seed and thinks, bird food. Your ancestor sees a seed and thinks, possible calories, but first I must defeat the tiny armor. Cooking changed everything. Fire made food softer, safer, warmer, easier to chew, easier to digest. It made some plant foods more useful and some animal foods less dangerous. It turned eating from desperate chewing into something closer to a human activity. Imagine eating a raw, tough root in the cold. Now imagine roasting it in ash beside a fire. That is not luxury. That is the beginning of dinner becoming civilized enough to stop personally attacking your jaw. Animal foods still mattered deeply. A carcass was not just meat. It was fat, organs, marrow, bones, hide, tendons, tools, clothing, fuel for stories, evidence of skill, evidence of luck. Modern people waste food because the trash can is close and the supermarket is closer. Your ancestors did not treat an animal like a chicken nugget. They used as much as possible. Fat was especially valuable. Today, people fear fat like it has a criminal record. But in a world where calories were uncertain, fat could be precious. Lean meat alone was not always enough. Marrow inside bones could be cracked open. Organs could be eaten. Brains and fatty tissues could matter. Nothing says successful day like cracking open bones for marrow while pretending the insects were not also invited. And yes, insects were probably food too. Modern people like to act superior until one cricket appears in the room and everyone becomes useless. But insects, larvae, grubs, termites, ants, and honeycomb can be edible, available, and nutritious in many environments. To a hungry human, small and crunchy is not necessarily a problem. It is a category. But food before farming was not only about what one person could find. It was about what a group could know, collect, prepare, protect, and share. Among the Hadza of Tanzania, a living foraging people who should never be treated as fossils or perfect copies of ancient humans, researchers such as Kristen Hawkes, James O'Connell, and Nicholas Blurton-Jones studied how different people contribute to food and care in different ways. Their work helps show that survival is not one heroic task, it is many tasks spread through a group. One person may bring back meat. Another may gather reliable plant foods. An elder may remember where food appears after rain. A grandmother may provide food, knowledge, and childcare. A child may learn by failing at tiny versions of adult work. A person who cannot run fast may still know which route keeps you alive. That is not a side detail. That is the system. Before farming, your food was also your relationships. Sharing mattered because food arrived unevenly. One day, someone found honey. Another day, someone caught fish. Another day, hunters returned with meat. Another day, almost everyone failed, and the group had to pretend the sad root meal was rustic. If food is unpredictable, sharing spreads risk. Today, your backup plan is a freezer. Back then, your backup plan might be the person who found eggs yesterday and still likes you. This is why being a selfish little goblin was dangerous. In a world where you need people to survive, reputation has calories. Now reconstruct the scene. The morning begins with hunger, but not panic. You walk with others through a landscape that is not scenery. It is pantry, map, calendar, warning system, and memory palace. A tree is not just a tree. It is where fruit ripened after the last rain. A patch of dirt is not just dirt. It is where tubers may hide. A bird call might mean movement. A broken shell might mean a place worth returning to. A track in mud might mean meat, danger, or both. Your eyes are working. Your ears are working. Your memory is working. Your stomach is very interested in the results. By midday, someone is digging. Someone is cracking nuts. Someone is following tracks. Someone is checking traps or fish pools. Someone is carrying a child. Someone is testing whether the berries are ready. Someone is quietly hoping Steve does not eat the wrong mushroom again. Later, the food comes back to camp. Not all of it is impressive. Some of it is ugly, dirty, and takes work before it becomes edible. Plants may need peeling, pounding, roasting, soaking, grinding, or sorting. Meat may need cutting, cooking, drying, dividing. Bones may need cracking. Shells may need opening. Honey may need defending from everyone pretending they only want a little. Food is processed. Food is argued over. Food is shared. Fire turns the camp into a kitchen, a meeting place, and a small circle of human control in a world that does not care about you. And here is the counterintuitive twist. Before farming, ancient humans may have eaten a wider variety of foods than many farmers later did. Farming made food more controllable in some places. It made storage easier. It allowed larger settlements and eventually cities, taxes, bosses, and emails. But farming also narrowed diets. Many farming communities came to depend heavily on a few crops. Grain became survival. Grain became storage. Grain became property. Grain became power. Before farming, food was wild and uncertain. After farming, food became organized. That organization built civilization. It also built schedules. So be careful when you call something progress. This does not mean life before farming was better. Do not romanticize hunger with no antibiotics. Ancient food could be dangerous, exhausting, seasonal, smoky, dirty, and full of parasites with terrible personal boundaries. But it does mean your ancestors were not stupid brutes waiting for agriculture to rescue them. They were intelligent, observant, social animals, turning a difficult planet into breakfast. They ate meat when they could. They ate plants when they could. They ate fish, shellfish, eggs, insects, nuts, roots, tubers, fruits, seeds, honey, marrow, organs, and whatever their knowledge told them would not kill them first. They did not eat a brand. They ate the landscape. That is the real answer. Before farming, food was not something you bought. It was something you understood. It was the shape of the land, the timing of rain, the memory of elders, the patience of hunters, the skill of gatherers, the heat of fire, and the trust inside a group. So the next time you open your fridge and say, "There is nothing to eat," remember this. Your ancestors once risked bees, poison berries, sharp shells, angry animals, smoke, hunger, and suspicious roots just to get through the day. And somehow, they survived long enough for you to stand in front of a refrigerator full of food and still think dinner is a choice.